They stumbled through the ER doors at 2:17 a.m., their hands fused together like some grotesque sculpture. My husband and my twin sister, panicked and unable to meet my eyes. I stood frozen at the nurse's station, the weight of my stethoscope suddenly heavy around my neck. 3 hours earlier, I'd checked my phone for what must have been the 100th time that week. No messages from Ryan, no explanation for the late nights, the weekend work emergencies, the faint scent of perfume I'd never worn. And certainly no explanation for why Cassie hadn't returned my calls in days. "I need help, please," Ryan's voice echoed through the quiet emergency department. "We can't get our hands apart." I'd planned this moment down to the smallest detail, replacing his expensive hand cream with my special mixture, setting the timer on the security camera I'd hidden in our bedroom. Yet nothing prepared me for actually seeing them together, caught in my trap. The super glue I'd carefully blended into his hand cream had worked exactly as intended. They were literally stuck with each other now. "Nurse, can someone help us?" Cassie called out, her voice shrill with panic. She hadn't spotted me yet, standing in the shadows of the station. Dr. Patel approached them. "What seems to be the problem?" "Our hands are stuck together," Ryan explained, lifting their joined hands. "We've tried soap, oil, nothing works." "How did this happen?" Dr. Patel asked, examining the bond. I stepped forward then, my voice steadier than I felt. "I can answer that." Their heads snapped up in unison, and the color drained from both their faces. "Ellie," Ryan whispered. "Oh God," Cassie murmured. "I guess the hand cream I bought you is working a little too well, Ryan," I said. "Seems to be really bringing people together." "My name is Eleanor Walsh. I'm 32 years old, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I had everything figured out. Registered nurse at Boston Memorial for 8 years. Married to Ryan for 6. Sister to Cassie for, well, our entire lives. The Walsh twins, people called us growing up. Mirror images with a few deliberate differences. Her hair long, mine short. Her wardrobe colorful, mine neutral. Her personality outgoing, mine reserved. But we shared everything. Secrets, dreams, fears, until we didn't. Ryan came into our lives during nursing school. He was in medical school then, brilliant and charming with dark curly hair and an easy smile that made my knees weak. Cassie met him first at a mixer between the nursing and medical programs. She introduced us, saying we'd be perfect for each other. She was right. We fell hard and fast. Ryan proposed on the Boston Harbor cruise at sunset after dating for 18 months. Cassie was my maid of honor. She cried during her toast about finding the perfect man for her perfect sister. We bought a small but charming colonial in Newton, close enough to the hospital for our shifts, but with enough yard for the family. We planned to start. I picked up night shifts 3 years ago, better pay, and we were saving for fertility treatments after months of trying hadn't resulted in the baby we both wanted. At least, I thought we both wanted. The first sign came 6 months ago. Ryan's sudden disinterest in our fertility app, his excuses about work stress, the way his phone would go silent when I entered a room. Classic signs that I rationalized away, because Ryan wasn't just any husband. He was a pediatric surgeon who saved children's lives, who worked impossible hours, who deserved grace and understanding when he came home exhausted. Cassie had been my sounding board as doubts crept in. "You're being paranoid," she'd said over brunch 2 months ago. "Ryan adores you." "But he's different," I insisted. "Distant. He's under pressure at work. That merger has everyone on edge," she said, referring to the hospital's recent acquisition. "Give him space." Looking back, I should have noticed how she avoided eye contact, how she changed the subject, how our weekly sister brunches became less frequent. But I trusted her implicitly. The Walsh twins against the world, always. Until the night I came home early from a shift with a migraine and heard the shower running upstairs at 3 a.m., when Ryan should have been asleep. I called his name. No answer. I opened the bathroom door and found it empty, steam still clouding the mirror. But 2 wet footprint trails led from the shower. One to our bedroom, one down the hall to the guest room. And on the edge of the sink, Cassie's distinctive silver ring with the opal stone I'd helped Ryan select for her 30th birthday. "You did this?" Ryan hissed, holding up their bonded hands in the middle of the ER. Several staff members had gathered now, their expressions ranging from confusion to dawning comprehension as they looked between the 3 of us. I felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to see Nancy, the charge nurse who'd become a mentor over my years on night shift. "Exam room 3 is open," she said quietly. "Take it." I nodded, professional mask sliding into place. "Dr. Patel, I can handle this case. It's a household adhesive situation involving my..." I swallowed hard. "My family members." Dr. Patel looked uncertain, but Nancy gave him a meaningful look. "Let Ellie handle it. She's qualified." I led them to the exam room, feeling the stares of my colleagues burning into my back. Once inside, I closed the door and leaned against it, arms crossed. "Sit," I instructed, pointing to the exam table. They obeyed silently, like scolded children. Cassie's mascara had run, leaving dark tracks down her cheeks. Ryan's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. "How long?" I asked. "Ellie, please," Cassie started. "How long?" Ryan stared at the floor. 7 months. 7 months. Over half a year of lies while I worked overnight shifts, while I tracked my ovulation, while I confided my fears to my twin. The room spun briefly, and I gripped the edge of the counter to steady myself. "I didn't mean for it to happen," Ryan said, his surgeon's composure returning. "We never wanted to hurt you." A harsh laugh escaped me. "Wow, that's spectacular. You didn't mean to sleep with my sister for 7 months behind my back? It just happened? Repeatedly?" "It's complicated," Cassie whispered. "No, it's actually incredibly simple," I countered, snapping on latex gloves with practiced efficiency. "You're both liars. You betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. And now you're literally stuck together. Poetic, isn't it?" I removed a bottle of acetone from the cabinet and placed it on the counter with deliberate calm. "You know what's interesting about cyanoacrylate adhesives? They create an incredibly strong bond between surfaces. The bond can withstand tremendous pressure." I paused, meeting their eyes. "But with the right solvent, applied correctly, the connection can be dissolved completely, like it never existed." I watched them flinch at my words. "I don't understand," Ryan said. "Why not just confront us? Why this elaborate setup?" "Because I needed to see it with my own eyes," I replied, opening the acetone. "I needed irrefutable proof of what I already knew, so neither of you could gaslight me into thinking I was crazy or jealous or misunderstanding things." I poured some acetone into a metal basin. "This will break down the adhesive. It might sting a bit." I allowed myself a small, grim smile. "But I'm sure you're both used to pain by now, seeing as you've been living double lives." "The hospital could fire you for this," Ryan threatened weakly. "They could," I agreed. "But they won't when they see the video footage from our bedroom showing you and my sister entering at 1 a.m., shortly after I left for my shift. The same footage showing you both panicking when you realized your hands were stuck together after using your precious hand cream. I made sure the timestamp is nice and clear." Cassie began to cry in earnest now. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I never meant..." "Stop." I cut her off. "I'm not interested in your apologies. Right now, I'm your nurse, treating a medical issue. That's all." I instructed them to soak their joined hands in the acetone solution. The silence stretched between us, heavy with 6 years of marriage and 32 years of sisterhood, all crumbling around us. "What happens after this?" Ryan finally asked. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since they'd entered the ER. This man I'd loved, whose children I'd wanted to bear, whose life I'd built mine around. I felt nothing but a dull, throbbing ache where my heart should be. "After this, you'll be physically separated," I said clinically. "You'll go home and pack your things, Ryan. All of them. You'll be gone by the time I finish my shift at 7 a.m. The security cameras will confirm your departure." "And me?" Cassie's voice was small. I couldn't even look at her. My twin, my other half. "You're already dead to me." The acetone did its work, gradually dissolving the superglue bond. I worked methodically, professionally, separating their skin without causing damage. When I finished, I disposed of the materials and stripped off my gloves. "We should talk about this," Ryan insisted. "We can work through—" "No," I said firmly. "We can't. There's no we anymore. I've already called a lawyer. Divorce papers will be delivered to your office by noon tomorrow." Cassie reached for my hand. "Ellie, please. We're sisters." I stepped back. We were sisters. I opened the door. "You're free to go. The adhesive has been removed. Make sure to wash thoroughly with soap and water to remove any residue." They stood, untethered from each other now, but looking lost. "Ellie," Ryan tried one last time. I turned away, back to my station, back to my work. "Goodbye, Ryan. Goodbye, Cassie." Nancy was waiting at the nurse's station, concern etched across her face. "You okay, honey?" I straightened my scrubs and picked up my clipboard. "I will be. We have patients waiting." The rest of my shift passed in a blur. I moved from patient to patient on autopilot, checking vitals, administering medications, updating charts. My colleagues gave me space, stepping in without being asked when I needed a moment to breathe through the tightness in my chest. Dawn was breaking as I finished my final rounds. The soft pink light filtered through the hospital windows, catching the diamond on my left hand. The ring I'd already decided would be sold. The money donated to the children's wing where Ryan worked. I didn't want anything from him anymore. I changed out of my scrubs in the locker room, Nancy sitting quietly beside me. "My sister betrayed me with the man I was planning a family with," I said finally, giving voice to the reality I was still processing. She nodded. No platitudes, no empty reassurances. Just presence. "I have a cousin with a lakeside cabin in New Hampshire," she offered. "It's empty until Memorial Day. It's yours if you want it. Space to think." I looked at her gratefully. "I might take you up on that." As I walked to my car in the staff parking lot, phone in hand, I saw the notifications. 17 missed calls from Ryan, 11 from Cassie, desperate text messages pleading for forgiveness, for conversation, for another chance. With steady fingers, I blocked both their numbers, then emailed my supervisor requesting emergency personal leave. She would understand. Hospital gossip traveled faster than any virus. The house was empty when I arrived, as I'd instructed. No Ryan, no trace of him except the lingering scent of his cologne in our closet. I would air that out too, eventually. Open all the windows and let the spring breeze carry away the last molecules of our life together. I packed a bag, clothes, toiletries, the dog-eared paperback I'd been reading on, breaks, the practical things a person needs to survive. In the kitchen, I found a note on the counter in Ryan's handwriting. "I'll always love you. Please call when you're ready to talk." I crumpled it and threw it away. There would be no talk, no reconciliation. Some betrayals cut too deep for healing. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window as I made a cup of tea, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. I hadn't slept in 24 hours, but I felt strangely alert, clear-headed. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't carrying the weight of suspicion, of doubt, of trying to make someone love me the way I deserved. I pulled out my phone and called the number Nancy had given me. "About that cabin," I said when her cousin answered. Is the offer still open? An hour later, I locked the front door of the house Ryan and I had chosen together. I didn't know if I would sell it or reclaim it as my own. That was a decision for another day. For now, I had a full tank of gas, a bag packed with necessities, and an address programmed into my GPS, a place where no one knew me as Ryan's wife or Cassie's twin. Just Eleanor Walsh, starting over. As I backed out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. My eyes were tired but clear, my shoulders straight, my path forward uncertain but unquestionably mine. Sometimes the strongest glue in the world can't hold together what was never meant to last. And sometimes, being broken apart is the first step to becoming whole. The New Hampshire cabin materialized through a veil of mist after 3 hours of driving. A small A-frame structure nestled between towering pines, its weathered cedar siding blending into the surrounding forest. The perfect place to disappear. Nancy's cousin had left the key under a ceramic frog by the front steps, along with a note welcoming me to Loon's Rest and instructions for the temperamental hot water heater. I stood on the porch for a long moment, listening to the gentle lap of lake water against the shoreline and the distant call of birds I couldn't name. Inside, the cabin smelled of pine and wood smoke, knotty pine walls, a stone fireplace, mismatched furniture that somehow worked together. Nothing fancy, nothing like the carefully curated home I'd built with Ryan in Newton. This place had been loved without pretense for generations. I set my bag on the patchwork quilt covering the bed in the loft, then returned downstairs to explore. The kitchen cabinets held basic supplies, coffee, tea, canned goods. The bookshelf in the living room sagged with paperbacks, their spines cracked from multiple readings. A collection of board games stacked in the corner. Simple pleasures. My phone buzzed. Another email from Ryan, circumventing my blocks on his phone number. I deleted it without reading. Then, after a moment's consideration, I powered off the device completely and buried it at the bottom of my bag. 3 days, I promised myself. 3 days of complete disconnection before I had to face the logistics of dismantling my marriage, confronting my sister, explaining to friends and family why the Walsh twins were no longer speaking. I found a notepad in a drawer and began making lists. The practical matters kept the emotions at bay. Contact a divorce attorney, change banking passwords, schedule STD testing. The thought made my stomach lurch. Find temporary housing, possibly transfer to a different hospital floor. As twilight descended, I wrapped myself in a blanket and sat on the dock, feet dangling above the dark water. The vastness of the lake and sky made my problems seem smaller, containable. I breathed in the cool evening air and felt something like peace settle over me. The next morning, I woke to a gentle rain pattering against the roof. My body felt heavy with exhaustion, muscles aching from tension I'd been carrying for months. I brewed a cup of coffee and sipped it while standing at the kitchen window, watching raindrops create concentric circles on the lake's surface. My phone remained off. The cabin had no television, no internet, just books, silence, and my thoughts. I picked up a novel from the shelf, something about a woman sailing solo around the world, and settled into the window seat. Hours passed as I lost myself in someone else's adventure, someone else's courage. The rain stopped by afternoon. I pulled on a pair of rubber boots I found by the door and ventured outside, following a narrow trail that wound through the woods. The path was slick with mud and fallen leaves, requiring my full attention to navigate. No space for rumination about Ryan's betrayal or Cassie's duplicity when my next step might send me sprawling. I emerged at the edge of a small clearing where wildflowers were just beginning to push through the damp earth, tiny harbingers of renewal after winter's grip. I crouched down to examine a cluster of white trillium, 3-petaled and perfect. My twin and my husband, the two people I'd trusted most. The pain hit me then, a physical blow that drove the air from my lungs. I sank to my knees in the soft earth, tears finally coming after days of numb efficiency. Great, heaving sobs that bent me double, fingers digging into the soil as if to anchor myself. How long had they been laughing at me behind my back? How many times had they been together while I worked overnight shifts, saving for fertility treatments for a baby that Ryan never intended to father? Had they made plans for after I discovered them? Had they rehearsed explanations, justifications? The questions circled like vultures, tearing at my self-worth, my memories, my identity. If I couldn't trust my twin, my literal other half since conception, who could I trust? If Ryan had never truly loved me, what did that say about my judgment, my value? I don't know how long I knelt there, crying until my throat was raw and my eyes swollen. Eventually, the sobs subsided into hiccups, then shaky breaths. The forest continued its peaceful existence around me, birds calling, branches swaying, life proceeding regardless of human drama. I wiped my face with my sleeve and stood on unsteady legs. The sky had cleared, sunlight filtering through the canopy in dappled patterns. I felt hollowed out, scoured clean. Ready, perhaps, to begin filling the emptiness with something new, something solely mine. Back at the cabin, I filled the old clawfoot tub with steaming water and lowered myself in, letting the heat soak into my bones. As I lay there, watching the steam rise in lazy curls, a memory surfaced from nursing school. A lecture on wound healing. The body knows how to repair itself, Professor Martinez had said. Our job is to create the optimal conditions for that natural process to occur. Clean the wound. Protect it from further harm. Give it time. Clean the wound. Protect it. Give it time. I could do that for myself now. Clean away the deception, protect my heart from further damage, give myself time to heal. Basic wound care for the soul. On my third morning at the cabin, I turned my phone back on. It buzzed continuously for nearly 5 minutes as notifications flooded in. 27 emails from Ryan, 15 from Cassie. Voicemails, texts, social media messages. Please call me. We need to talk. It wasn't what you think. I made a terrible mistake. I still love you. Delete, delete, delete. Messages from concerned friends and colleagues. Word had spread about the ER incident, as I'd known it would. Are you okay? Here if you need to talk. What happened? Those I saved to respond to later. One message stood out, from David Jenkins, the attorney I'd contacted before confronting Ryan and Cassie. Divorce papers had been delivered as promised. Ryan had called his office 7 times. David needed my instruction on how to proceed. I called him back immediately. Eleanor, he greeted me, his voice measured and professional. I'm glad to hear from you. How are you holding up? I'm taking some time away, I said. But I'm ready to move forward with the divorce. What do I need to know? Massachusetts is a no-fault state, so infidelity won't affect the division of assets, David explained. However, the documentation you provided, the security footage, gives us leverage in negotiations. Ryan seems eager to settle quickly and quietly. I'm sure he is, I said dryly. His reputation as a pediatric surgeon is important to him. He's offered a settlement that's quite generous, David continued. Full equity in the house, 60% of shared assets, continued health insurance coverage until the divorce is final. I laughed bitterly. He thinks he can buy my silence. Essentially, yes, David agreed. From a purely practical standpoint, it's an excellent offer. But this isn't just about money, is it? No, I said softly. It's about dignity, self-respect, truth. Take some time to consider what you want out of this process, Eleanor. Revenge, closure, a clean break? The law can help with some of those goals more effectively than others. After we hung up, I sat on the dock again, tossing pebbles into the water and watching the ripples spread. What did I want? Not revenge, exactly. The superglue incident had satisfied that initial impulse. Not reconciliation, the very thought made me nauseous. Closure, maybe. Acknowledgement of the depth of their betrayal. The chance to walk away with my head high. My phone rang again. Nancy from the hospital. "Just checking that you're still alive," she said when I answered. "The rumor mill is working overtime." "I'm okay," I told her. "Or I will be." "How bad is it?" "Your supervisor has approved your leave. Paid, by the way. Human Resources got involved after Ryan tried to file a complaint against you for the glue incident. When they saw the security footage you sent them..." She paused. "Let's just say the complaint disappeared, and Ryan was called in for a meeting about professional ethics. He tried to get me fired?" The audacity was breathtaking. "Attempted and failed spectacularly," Nancy assured me. "Several staff members who witnessed the ER scene have also provided statements supporting you. Nobody likes a cheater, especially one who targets his wife's twin." A spark of warmth ignited in my chest. Colleagues standing up for me, defending me. "Thank you," I said, swallowing past the lump in my throat. "For everything." "When are you coming back?" she asked. "I don't know yet. I need to figure out what happens next." "Well, you've got allies here when you're ready," Nancy said. "And a job, if you want it." After we hung up, I scrolled through my contacts until I found Lisa Chen, my closest friend from nursing school who now worked as a nurse practitioner at a different hospital across town. "Ellie," she answered. "My God, I've been trying to reach you for days. Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm at a cabin in New Hampshire," I said. "And okay is relative, but I'm still standing." "I heard rumors, but I didn't want to believe them," Lisa said cautiously. "About Ryan and Cassie." "It's true," I confirmed, the words still bitter on my tongue. 7 months at least, possibly longer. I caught them on camera and then, well, got creative with some superglue. Lisa's gasp turned into a startled laugh. "You did not!" "I did. They showed up in the ER during my shift with their hands glued together. It was theatrical." "Holy shit, Ellie." Her voice softened. "I'm so sorry. What a nightmare." "I've initiated divorce proceedings," I continued. "But I'm not sure what comes next. I don't think I can go back to that house." "Stay with me," Lisa offered immediately. "I have a spare bedroom, and Michael travels so much for work that I'm practically living alone anyway. Stay as long as you need." The generosity brought fresh tears to my eyes. "I might take you up on that. But I need a few more days here first. To think." "Whatever you need," Lisa assured me. "Just don't disappear, okay? Reach out. Let people help." That night, I built a fire in the cabin's stone fireplace. As the flames cast dancing shadows across the pine walls, I opened my notebook and began to write. Not lists this time, but a letter to myself. Words of truth, of acknowledgement, of promise. Dear Eleanor, you are not defined by Ryan's betrayal or Cassie's deception. Their actions reflect their character, not your worth. You are a skilled nurse who brings comfort to patients on their worst days. You are a loyal friend who shows up when needed. You are resilient, clever, and stronger than you know. This pain is temporary. It will not always feel this sharp, this overwhelming. One day, it will be a scar instead of an open wound, a mark of what you've survived, not what destroyed you. You deserve a love that doesn't require surveillance. You deserve a sister who honors your trust. You deserve a life built on honesty, respect, and genuine care. Begin again. Not because they broke you, but because you choose to grow beyond what they did. With love and faith in your future. Eleanor. I folded the letter and placed it in my wallet, a talisman to carry forward. Outside, an owl called into the darkness, its haunting question echoing across the lake. I opened the cabin door and stepped onto the porch, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders against the chill. Stars blazed overhead, countless and ancient, putting my 6-year marriage and 32 years of sisterhood into cosmic perspective. I am enough, I whispered to the night. I have always been enough. Lisa's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in a converted brownstone in Brookline, filled with plants, art from her travels, and mismatched furniture that somehow worked together. The guest room was small but bright, with a view of a community garden across the street. "Make yourself at home," she said, setting my suitcase inside the door. I'd gone back to the Newton house only long enough to pack more clothes and collect important documents, timing my visit for when I knew Ryan would be in surgery. "Thank you," I said, hugging her. "I can't tell you what this means to me." "What are friends for, if not housing you during explosive divorce proceedings?" Lisa joked, then grew serious. "You'd do the same for me in a heartbeat." She was right. I would have. The realization was comforting. I still knew how to be a good friend, even if I'd failed to recognize when others weren't being good to me. "Have you heard from Cassie?" Lisa asked carefully as we sat at her kitchen island with glasses of wine that evening. I nodded. Constantly. Emails, voicemails, even a handwritten letter delivered to the hospital. I haven't responded to any of it. "And Ryan?" "His lawyer is communicating with my lawyer now," I said. "Apparently, he's devastated by my unwillingness to discuss reconciliation." Lisa snorted. "The audacity." "He keeps insisting it was a mistake, as if he accidentally fell into bed with my sister for 7 consecutive months," I said, surprising myself with the bitter laugh that followed. "At least the divorce is proceeding quickly. He's not contesting anything." "Probably afraid you'll superglue other parts of his anatomy," Lisa suggested, making me choke on my wine. We laughed together, and for a brief moment, I felt like myself again. Not Ryan's wife or Cassie's twin, but just Eleanor Walsh, a woman capable of finding humor even in heartbreak. The next morning, I woke early, made coffee, and sat at Lisa's kitchen table with my laptop. Time to take concrete steps toward my new life. I opened my email and composed a message to my supervisor at Boston Memorial. "Janet, thank you for approving my emergency leave. After careful consideration, I believe it's in my best interest to request a transfer to a different department when I return. The circumstances of my divorce make continuing in the ER difficult, as I'm sure you understand. I've always been interested in the NICU and noticed there's an opening on that floor. With my experience and additional certification in neonatal care, I believe I could be an asset to that team. I'm available to discuss this further at your convenience. Sincerely, Eleanor Walsh." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Change was necessary, and I'd always loved working with newborns, their resilience, their pure potential. The symmetry wasn't lost on me, caring for new lives while building a new life of my own. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it cautiously. "Ellie, it's Mom. Cassie told us what happened. We're heartbroken for you. Please call us. We love you." My parents. I'd been avoiding thinking about them, about how this betrayal would ripple through our family. Had Cassie told them the whole truth, or a sanitized version that minimized her culpability? I hesitated, then dialed their number. My father answered on the second ring. "Eleanor?" His voice was tentative, hopeful. "Hi, Dad," I managed. "Oh, sweetheart, are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm safe," I said, not quite answering either question. "I'm staying with a friend." "Your mother and I have been so worried. We've tried calling, but it goes straight to voicemail." "I blocked a lot of numbers," I explained. "I needed space." A pause, then, "Cassie's told us some of what happened, with Ryan." I gripped the phone tighter. "What exactly did she tell you?" "That she and Ryan..." He couldn't finish the sentence. That they betrayed you in the worst possible way. That you found out and confronted them. That you're divorcing Ryan. That's the simplified version, I said. Did she mention they've been carrying on for at least 7 months? That they were sleeping together in our house while I worked night shifts to save for fertility treatments? That I caught them using security cameras I installed because I suspected something was wrong? My father was silent for a long moment. No, he finally said, his voice heavy. She didn't share those details. Of course not, I said bitterly. Did she tell you about showing up in my ER with their hands glued together after using Ryan's hand cream that I'd doctored? A shocked inhale. Eleanor, you didn't. I did, Dad. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not sorry either. I needed them to feel even a fraction of the humiliation I felt. Your mother wants to come see you, he said. We both do. I closed my eyes, imagining my parents, mid-60s, married for 40 years, still holding hands when they walked together. How could they possibly understand the magnitude of this betrayal? Not yet, I said. I need time. Cassie is devastated, my father ventured. She's staying with us. She can barely eat, barely sleep. She keeps saying she's ruined everything, that she'll never forgive herself. A spike of anger shot through me. Are you trying to make me feel sorry for her? No, honey, of course not, he backpedaled. I just thought you should know that my twin sister is suffering consequences for her actions. I finished for him. Good. She should be suffering. Ryan, too. Eleanor. Dad, I have to go, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. I'll call again when I can. Tell Mom I'm okay. I ended the call and sat staring at the silent phone. The conversation had confirmed what I'd suspected. Cassie had already begun the process of rehabilitating her image in our family's eyes. Poor Cassie, so remorseful. Poor Cassie, unable to eat. Would they eventually pressure me to forgive her? To mend the sisterly bond for the sake of family harmony? I couldn't think about that now. One day at a time, one foot in front of the other. My email pinged, a response from Janet already. Eleanor. I've spoken with Dr. Martinez in the NICU about your interest in transferring. She would be delighted to have someone with your experience join their team. Please contact her directly to discuss start dates and scheduling once you're ready to return. On a personal note, I want you to know that you have the full support of hospital management during this difficult time. What happened was unprofessional and unethical on multiple levels, and we value you as a member of our staff. Take the time you need, and know that your position here is secure. Warmly, Janet. I read the email twice, relief washing over me. A fresh start in a new department, away from the pitying glances and whispered conversations that would inevitably follow me in the ER. A place where I could be defined by my skills rather than my scandal. That afternoon, I met with David Jenkins to sign additional divorce paperwork. His office was sleek and modern, all glass and chrome, with a view of the Boston skyline. We've received a counteroffer from Ryan's attorney, he informed me, sliding a document across his desk. He's willing to give you everything we asked for, plus an additional cash settlement, in exchange for a confidentiality agreement. I scanned the paperwork, eyebrows rising at the figure proposed. That's substantial. He's very motivated to keep the details private, David said. Particularly the, superglue incident. I bet he is, I murmured. You should know that Cassie Walsh has also reached out to my office, David continued. She's requested to meet with you in my presence as a neutral third party. My head snapped up. Absolutely not. That was my assumption, David said smoothly. I've informed her that all communication should go through me, as we discussed. I stared out the window at the city below, people moving through their normal lives, unaware of the wreckage I was sorting through. The money Ryan was offering would give me freedom. Freedom to start over, to take time finding the right next step, to rebuild without financial pressure. But a confidentiality agreement meant silence, meant protecting Ryan's reputation, Cassie's image, meant swallowing my truth. I don't want his money, I decided, not beyond what's legally mine from our marital assets, and I won't sign a confidentiality agreement. David looked surprised. Are you sure? This settlement would set you up very comfortably. I'm sure, I said firmly. I don't need to be paid for my silence. I'm not planning to take out a billboard advertising what they did, but I won't legally bind myself to protect them either. The truth is the truth. Very well, David nodded, making a note. I'll inform Ryan's counsel of your decision. As I left the office, walking down the busy sidewalk toward the T station, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. I hadn't realized how much the idea of taking Ryan's hush money had weighed on me until I'd rejected it. My integrity wasn't for sale, not even at a premium. My phone rang as I descended the station steps. Lisa's number. Hey, what's up? I answered. Don't freak out, she began, which immediately made me tense. But Cassie is here at the apartment. My breath caught. What? Why? She showed up about 20 minutes ago, asking for you. I told her you weren't here and to leave, but she's sitting on the front steps refusing to move. Says she'll wait as long as it takes. I closed my eyes, leaning against the station wall as commuters streamed past. I can't deal with her right now. Do you want me to call the police? Lisa asked. I will if you want me to. The thought of Cassie being forcibly removed by police made my stomach turn, despite everything. She was still my twin, still the girl who'd held my hand on our first day of kindergarten, who'd stayed up all night with me after my first heartbreak in college. No, I said finally. No police, I'll handle it. I'm about 20 minutes away. Are you sure? No, I admitted. But it's time. I ended the call and retraced my steps to the street, hailing a taxi instead of taking the T. As the cab wove through afternoon traffic, I prepared myself for the confrontation ahead. What could Cassie possibly say that would make any difference? What explanation could justify betraying me so completely with the man I loved? There was no excuse, no rationale that could repair what had been broken between us. The taxi pulled up in front of Lisa's building. Through the window, I could see Cassie sitting on the front steps, hunched over, her dark hair, so like mine, falling forward to shield her face. I paid the driver and stepped out, my heart pounding. Cassie looked up at the sound of car doors closing, and our eyes met for the first time since that night in the ER. Her face was gaunt, shadows under her eyes, none of her usual careful makeup. She stood shakily, hands twisting together. Ellie, she said, her voice breaking on my name. I walked past her to the front door, keys in hand. You shouldn't be here. Please, she begged, following me. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking for. I turned to face her, the keys digging into my palm. 5 minutes to what? Justify sleeping with my husband? Explain why you lied to my face for months? Make yourself feel better about being the worst sister in recorded history? She flinched as if I'd slapped her. I know I can't fix this. I know you may never forgive me. I need you to understand what happened. I understand perfectly, I said coldly. You wanted what was mine, so you took it. Tale as old as time. It wasn't like that, she insisted. I never meant to fall for Ryan. It just happened. Things like that don't just happen, Cassie. They happen because you make choices. Hundreds of small, selfish choices that add up to destroying someone else's life. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I hate myself for hurting you. Congratulations, I said flatly. That makes 2 of us. A couple exited the building, glancing curiously at us as they passed. I sighed, suddenly aware we were creating a scene on a public sidewalk. You've got 3 minutes left, I said, unlocking the front door. You can use them out here or inside. Your choice. She followed me into the building's foyer, away from curious eyes. In the harsh fluorescent lighting, she looked even worse. Pale, diminished, haunted. "Mom and Dad are worried about you," she began. "Don't," I cut her off. "Don't use our parents to manipulate me." "I'm not," she protested. They miss you. We all do." "You lost the right to miss me when you started sleeping with Ryan behind my back," I said. 2 minutes. Cassie took a deep breath. "Ryan and I have ended things. Completely. He was never going to leave you for me. I know that now. I was just convenient. Available." "And that's supposed to make me feel better?" I asked incredulously. "That my husband was using my twin sister for sex while still planning to stay married to me? That's your big revelation?" "No," she said miserably. "I'm just trying to be honest. Finally." "Too little, too late," I told her. 1 minute. "I'll do anything to make this right," she blurted. "Anything, Ellie. Tell me what you need from me, and I'll do it." I studied her face, so similar to mine and yet belonging to someone I no longer recognized. My twin, my first friend, now a stranger. "What I need," I said carefully, "is for you to leave me alone. No calls, no texts, no ambushing me on doorsteps. I need time and space without you or Ryan trying to force yourselves back into my life. I need to figure out who I am without either of you." "For how long?" she whispered. "I don't know. Maybe forever." Fresh tears welled in her eyes. "You don't mean that. We're twins. We're supposed to be forever." "We were supposed to be a lot of things, Cassie. Loyal, honest, trustworthy." I stepped back, reaching for the inner door that led to the stairs. "Time's up." "Ellie, wait." "Goodbye, Cassie." I closed the door between us with a gentle click, then leaned against it, listening to her muffled sobs from the other side. After a few minutes, I heard the outer door open and close. She was gone. I climbed the stairs to Lisa's apartment, each step requiring deliberate effort, as if I were moving through water. Inside, Lisa waited anxiously, perched on the edge of the sofa. "Are you okay?" she asked, rising to meet me. I considered the question carefully. Was I okay? No, not yet. But I had faced my sister, set boundaries, stood my ground. It was a beginning. "I will be," I said, and for the first time, I truly believed it. That night, I stood at Lisa's bathroom sink, studying my reflection in the mirror. Same dark hair as Cassie's, though mine was cut in a practical bob while hers fell past her shoulders. Same brown eyes, same high cheekbones, same dimple in the left cheek when we smiled. But I wasn't Cassie's reflection anymore. I was my own person, making my own choices, forging my own path forward. I opened the medicine cabinet and took out a pair of scissors. With steady hands, I began to cut my hair, shorter than I'd ever worn it, pieces falling into the sink in dark clumps. When I finished, I ran my fingers through the choppy pixie cut that remained, exposing the nape of my neck, the curve of my ears. Different. New. Mine. I swept the discarded hair into the trash, washed my face, and went to bed in Lisa's guest room. For the first time since discovering Ryan and Cassie's betrayal, I slept through the night without waking, without nightmares, without tears. In the morning, I opened my laptop and emailed Dr. Martinez about starting in the NICU. It was time to step back into my life. Not the one that had been shattered, but the one I was building from the pieces. A life defined not by what I'd lost, but by what I was finding. Strength I hadn't known I possessed. Friendships deeper than I'd realized, and possibilities I'd never considered when I was half of a couple, half of a twin set. I was becoming whole on my own terms, and that was worth every painful step of the journey. On my bedside table, a small potted plant from Lisa, a cutting from one of her many houseplants, had sprouted new growth overnight, tiny green leaves unfurling toward the morning light. I touched one gently with my fingertip, marveling at its simple determination to grow despite being severed from its original source. "Me too," I whispered to the plant. "Me too." My first day in the NICU felt like stepping into a different world. Hushed voices, gentle beeping monitors, and tiny warriors fighting their first battles. Dr. Martinez welcomed me with a firm handshake and knowing eyes that asked no questions about my transfer. "Bed 3 needs assessment," she said simply, handing me a chart. 28 weeker, stable but struggling with feeding. I slipped on gloves and approached the incubator where a baby girl smaller than my hand lay connected to monitors, her translucent skin revealing the roadmap of veins beneath. So fragile, yet so determined to survive. "Hello, little one," I whispered, carefully checking her vitals. "I'm Eleanor. We're going to get through this together." The baby's tiny fingers curled reflexively around mine when I touched her palm, a perfect grasp that squeezed my heart. This was why I'd become a nurse, to help, to heal, to witness strength in vulnerability. For 6 hours, I lost myself in the rhythm of the NICU, feeding schedules, medication timing, parent consultations. No one mentioned Ryan or Cassie or superglue incidents. Here, I was just Nurse Walsh, competent and composed. "You're a natural," Dr. Martinez commented as we reviewed charts at the end of my shift. "The Sanderson baby's oxygen levels improved after your feeding technique adjustment." "Thank you," I said, feeling a flush of pride. It felt good to be useful again. "Trauma has a way of making us doubt our capabilities," she observed casually, not looking up from her notes. "But skills remain, even when our personal lives implode." I glanced at her, surprised by the personal comment. "When my husband left with my research assistant," she continued, still writing, "I thought I'd never be able to focus on medicine again. That was 12 years ago. Now I run this department." She finally looked up, meeting my eyes with quiet understanding. "The hardest wounds eventually become our strongest parts, Eleanor. You're going to be fine." I walked out of the hospital that evening with her words echoing in my mind. The spring air felt cleaner somehow, the city lights brighter. At a crosswalk, I caught my reflection in a store window. Short hair, straight shoulders, moving forward. "The house is sold," David informed me over the phone 3 weeks later. "Closing is next Friday. The funds will be transferred to your account after settlement." "That was fast," I remarked, stirring honey into my tea at Lisa's kitchen counter. "Your husband was motivated," David replied. "Or should I say, ex-husband. The divorce was finalized yesterday." I set my spoon down, absorbing the news. "So, that's it? It's over?" "Legally, yes. I've emailed the final documents for your records." After we hung up, I sat motionless, cup cooling between my palms. 6 years of marriage, dissolved into digital files and bank transfers. No more Eleanor and Ryan Walsh, just Eleanor Walsh, singular. The expected grief didn't come. Instead, a strange lightness filled me, the certainty of completion, of chapters closing and new pages turning. Lisa found me still sitting there when she returned from her shift. "What's up? You look like you've seen a ghost." "The opposite," I told her. "The divorce is final. The house is sold." "That calls for something stronger than tea," she declared, reaching for the wine bottle. "Congratulations on your Independence Day." We toasted with cheap Cabernet, laughing about the apartment hunt I'd begin tomorrow. I was finally ready to find my own place, somewhere that had never known Ryan's presence, never witnessed Cassie's betrayal. "I've been thinking about the settlement money," I said, swirling the wine in my glass. "Please tell me you're not considering returning it," Lisa groaned. "The opposite," I grinned. I'm going to use it to travel. 3 weeks in Japan. I've always wanted to go, and Ryan always found reasons to postpone it. Perfect. Lisa nodded approvingly. Cherry blossoms and sake and gorgeous Japanese men who don't cheat. I laughed, surprising myself with how easily it came now. I'm not looking for men, gorgeous or otherwise. I'm looking for temples and tea ceremonies and time to think. To Eleanor 2.0, Lisa raised her glass. Rising from the ashes, passport in hand. Later that night, I opened my email to find a message from Janet, my former supervisor. Eleanor. Thought you should know. Ryan has accepted a position at Johns Hopkins. He leaves next month. Clean break for everyone. Hope you're thriving in the NICU. Janet. I read it twice, letting the information settle. Ryan leaving Boston. No chance encounters at medical conferences or hospital fundraisers. No awkward explanations to mutual friends. Relief washed over me, followed by a curious sense of closure. I drafted a quick reply. Janet. Thanks for letting me know. The NICU is challenging in the best ways. Dr. Martinez is an excellent mentor. I hope all is well with you and the ER team. Eleanor. Simple, professional, forward-looking. I closed my laptop and walked to the window, gazing at the city lights stretching toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, Ryan was packing for Baltimore. Cassie was rebuilding her life without either of us, and I was standing at the threshold of possibilities I'd never imagined when I walked into that overnight shift and found my husband and sister with their hands glued together. Sometimes the strongest bonds are the ones we choose to dissolve, making way for new connections yet to form. My hands were free now. Free to build, to heal, to reach for what I truly wanted. Tomorrow would bring apartment listings, travel bookings, and NICU rounds. Tonight, I slept peacefully, dreaming of cherry blossoms and distant temples, waking to find myself smiling in the darkness. The wound was closing, day by day, breath by breath. Healing. Kyoto in spring was everything I'd imagined and more. Cherry blossoms floated like pink snow along canal paths. Temple bells echoed across valleys. Time slowed in a way I hadn't experienced since childhood. I'd rented a small apartment in an old Machia townhouse, with sliding paper doors and a tiny garden where I drank morning coffee, listening to the neighborhood wake around me. 3 weeks stretched before me. No hospital alarms, no divorce paperwork, no well-meaning questions about how I was holding up. Just me, discovering who Eleanor Walsh might become when not defined by others. My first week passed in a haze of tourist activities, photographing the golden pavilion of Kinkakuji, wandering through thousands of vermilion gates at Fushimi Inari Shrine, sampling street food in Nishiki Market. I filled a journal with observations and pressed cherry blossoms between its pages, creating tangible memories. In my second week, I slowed down. Instead of racing between landmarks, I returned to the same tea house each afternoon, sitting for hours with a book while rain tapped against the roof tiles. I took a pottery class where my clumsy hands produced a lopsided tea bowl that the instructor praised for its unique character. I learned to fold origami cranes from an elderly woman in the park who spoke no English but communicated through patient demonstration. "Why are you alone?" she finally asked one afternoon, her heavily accented English surprising me. "I'm finding myself," I answered, struggling to crease the paper precisely. She nodded as if this made perfect sense. Good journey. Most important. On my final day in Kyoto, I hiked to a secluded temple in the eastern hills. The stone path wound through bamboo forests and past small shrines where visitors had left offerings, coins, incense, written prayers. At a scenic overlook, I paused to catch my breath, gazing at the city spread below, ancient and modern intertwined. From my backpack, I withdrew a small wooden box I'd purchased in a market. Inside, I placed 3 items: my wedding ring, a photo of Cassie and me as children, and the letter I'd written to myself in the New Hampshire cabin. With deliberate movements, I closed the box and set it on a flat rock. Not an offering exactly, not a burial. Something in between. An acknowledgement of what had been lost, and what remained. I sat beside it in meditation for nearly an hour, letting memories surface and recede like waves against a shore. When I finally stood to continue my hike, I left the box behind. Perhaps someone would find it and wonder about its contents. Perhaps it would weather away in seasonal rains. It didn't matter. The ritual was complete. At the temple, a monk nodded in greeting as I removed my shoes and entered the quiet sanctuary. No other visitors disturbed the tranquility. I knelt on a cushion and closed my eyes, listening to the subtle sounds of the space. Creaking wood, distant wind chimes, the monk's sandals shuffling across ancient floors. "You come far," he observed in English, materializing beside me. I opened my eyes. "Yes, from America." "Farther?" he said, tapping his chest. "Long journey inside." I smiled, not surprised that my emotional pilgrimage was somehow visible to this perceptive stranger. "Yes, that too." He offered tea, which we drank in companionable silence, watching afternoon light filter through paper windows. When I finally rose to leave, he pressed something into my palm. A small carved wooden crane, its wings outspread as if in flight. "For journey home," he said. "Reminder." "Of what?" I asked. "You fly now. No box needed." I left the temple with the crane tucked safely in my pocket, wondering if all Japanese strangers were this perceptive, or if I'd somehow encountered the two most philosophical ones in succession. Either way, their words resonated as I descended the mountain path toward my temporary home. That evening, I packed my suitcase for the return flight, carefully wrapping the pottery tea bowl and wooden crane in soft clothing. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. "Airport pickup still good for Saturday? Can't wait to hear everything." I confirmed the arrangement, then hesitated before opening my email, my first connection to real life in nearly 3 weeks. Among meeting notifications from the hospital and apartment listings from my realtor was a message from my father. Subject line, "Your mother." My heart stuttered. I opened it immediately. "Eleanor, I hope this email finds you well and that your trip to Japan has been restorative. We've respected your request for space and time, but I need to inform you that your mother had a minor stroke 3 days ago. She's stable and recovering at Boston Memorial, with good prognosis for full recovery. She's been asking for you. I understand if you're not ready to see Cassie, who has been at the hospital daily, but perhaps you could coordinate separate visiting times. Your mother would be comforted by seeing you. With love, Dad." I read the email twice, guilt and concern tangling in my chest. My mother in the hospital while I wandered through Japanese gardens. The thought of seeing her, and potentially Cassie, collided with my carefully constructed peace. With shaking hands, I booked an earlier return flight, leaving the next morning instead of 2 days later. Then I emailed my father. "Dad, I'm so sorry to hear about Mom. I've changed my flight and will be back in Boston tomorrow evening. Please text me her room number and the best time to visit when Cassie won't be there. Fesi non buin. Eleanor." Sleep eluded me that night. I paced my small apartment, rehearsing what I'd say to my mother, how I'd handle potentially seeing my father, whether I could maintain my boundaries if Cassie appeared unexpectedly. The calm I'd cultivated in Kyoto felt suddenly fragile, threatened by the pull of family bonds and obligations. The journey home was a blur of airport security lines, cramped airplane seats, and layovers spent checking my phone for updates. By the time my plane touched down in Boston, exhaustion had settled into my bones, along with resolution. I would see my mother because I loved her, but I would protect my hard-won healing at all costs. Lisa met me at arrivals, enfolding me in a tight hug. Welcome back, world traveler. You look different. Good different or bad different? I asked, following her to short-term parking. Peaceful different, she decided. Like you found something important. Or let go of something heavy, I suggested, loading my suitcase into her trunk. My mom had a stroke. Lisa's expression shifted to concern. When? Is she okay? 3 days ago. Dad says she's stable. I buckled my seatbelt as Lisa navigated out of the airport. She's at Boston Memorial. Are you going straight there? I checked the time. Nearly 8 p.m. No, visiting hours are over. Tomorrow morning. Dad says Cassie's been there every afternoon, so I'll go early. Want me to come with you? Lisa offered. The question touched me deeply. No, but thank you for offering. I need to do this myself. She nodded, understanding as always. Your apartment is ready, by the way. The landlord let me pick up the keys yesterday. I stocked the fridge with basics and made sure the utilities were connected. Tears pricked my eyes at this kindness. Lisa Chen, you are too good to me. She grinned. Just building up karma for when I inevitably need you to hide a body. I'm a nurse, I reminded her. I know all the best places. We laughed together as Boston's familiar skyline came into view. Despite everything, it felt good to be home. My new apartment was a third-floor unit in a converted Victorian in Jamaica Plain. Hardwood floors, bay windows, and a tiny balcony overlooking a community garden. Lisa had indeed stocked the refrigerator with essentials and even placed a small potted plant on the kitchen counter with a note. Welcome home. May you grow roots here. After she left, I showered away travel grime and fell into my new bed, sleeping dreamlessly until dawn. Boston Memorial's familiar corridors felt strange after my absence. The security guard at the entrance recognized me with a nod but didn't comment on my return. I took the elevator to the neurology floor, heart pounding as I approached the nurse's station. I'm looking for Catherine Walsh, I told the charge. Nurse. I'm her daughter. Room 412, she replied, glancing at her computer. She's doing well this morning. Just finished breakfast. I thanked her and walked slowly down the hall, steeling myself. At the doorway to 412, I paused, taking a deep breath before knocking softly. Come in, my father called. He sat beside the bed where my mother reclined against pillows, looking smaller than I remembered but alert. Her face brightened when she saw me. Eleanor, she said, her voice slightly slurred but clear enough. You came. Of course I came, I replied, moving to her bedside and taking her outstretched hand. How are you feeling? Better now, she said, squeezing my fingers. You cut your hair. I touched my short locks self-consciously. In Japan? Do you like it? It suits you, she decided. Very independent. My father stood, kissing the top of my head. I'll give you two some time. Going for coffee. When he'd gone, my mother patted the edge of her bed. Sit. Tell me about Japan. I perched beside her, describing Kyoto's temples and gardens, the kindly monk, the pottery class. She listened intently, asking questions despite her obvious fatigue. After about 20 minutes, she closed her eyes briefly, then fixed me with a more serious gaze. We should talk about Cassie, she said quietly. I stiffened. Mom, I don't think... Please, she interrupted. I had a stroke, Eleanor. It clarifies priorities. I sighed, unable to refuse her. What about Cassie? She told us everything, my mother said. The whole truth, not just pieces. It was difficult to hear. I'm sure it was, I agreed, a hint of bitterness creeping into my tone. What she did was wrong, my mother continued firmly. Unequivocally wrong. Your father and I have made that clear to her. Surprised by her directness, I remained silent. She broke something precious, Mom said. Your trust, your sisterhood, and I don't know if it can be repaired. That's for you to decide. In your own time. Then why bring it up? I asked. My mother shifted against her pillows, wincing slightly. Because I need you to know that while we love Cassie, we do not condone what she did. We don't expect you to forgive her, now or ever. But we miss you, Eleanor. Your absence leaves a hole in our family that no one else can fill. Tears welled in my eyes. I needed space. I know, she said gently, and you still may. But don't cut us all out because of Cassie's betrayal. Your father and I want to be part of your life, on whatever terms work for you. The simple acceptance in her words broke something loose inside me. The last knot of fear that my parents would ultimately choose Cassie, their wounded child, over me, their righteously angry one. I was so angry, I admitted. Not just at Cassie and Ryan, but at the universe for making me her twin, for creating this connection I never asked for. Sometimes I feel like I can't escape her, even across an ocean. She's not here now, my mother pointed out. Just us. I nodded, wiping away tears. Just us. We talked for another half hour about my new apartment, my position in the NICU, my plans for the future. No more mention of Cassie or Ryan or the divorce, just mother and daughter, reconnecting across the chasm of pain and absence. When my father returned, I embraced him properly, feeling his relief in the way his arms tightened around me. "Will you come for Sunday dinner next week?" he asked tentatively. "Just the three of us." I hesitated only briefly. Yes, I'd like that. After promising to return the following day, I left the hospital and walked through the adjoining park, processing the conversation. My parents had chosen a middle path, not dismissing Cassie or what she'd done, but not forcing me to interact with her either. It was more than I'd expected, this acknowledgement of boundaries and autonomy. Near the park exit, a familiar figure sat on a bench, head bent over a book. Cassie. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, her posture dejected. She hadn't seen me yet, and I could easily take another path to avoid her. Instead, I found myself walking directly toward her, propelled by a sudden clarity. She looked up when my shadow fell across her page, surprise and hope flashing across her face. "Ellie," she breathed, closing her book. "You're back." "From Japan, yes," I confirmed, remaining standing. "I saw Mom this morning." "How is she?" "Improving. The slurring is less noticeable." Cassie nodded, eyes searching my face. "You look good. Peaceful." "I feel better," I acknowledged. "More myself." An awkward silence stretched between us, loaded with unspoken words and shared history. "I'm not here to reconcile," I said finally. "I'm still processing everything that happened, and I'm not ready for that. Maybe I never will be." "I understand," she said softly, disappointment evident despite her efforts to hide it. "But," I continued, "I'm going to be in Mom and Dad's lives again. Sunday dinners, holidays, family events. We're going to cross paths, and it can't be destructive every time." Hope flickered in her eyes. "What are you saying?" I sat beside her on the bench, maintaining a careful distance. "I'm saying that I'm working toward a place where I can be in the same room as you without feeling like my world is collapsing. Where we can exist in the same family orbit without pretending to be what we were before, but without tearing each other apart either." "That's more than I dared hope for," Cassie admitted. "It's not forgiveness," I clarified. "Not yet, maybe not ever in the way you want, but it's coexistence, for Mom and Dad's sake and for my own peace." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'll take it, Ellie. Whatever you're willing to give, I'll take it and be grateful." We sat in silence for several minutes, watching people pass by on the park paths, mothers with strollers, joggers, elderly, couples arm in arm, life continuing in all its ordinary beauty. "I should go," I said eventually, standing. "I have unpacking to do." "You moved?" she asked. New apartment in JP? I confirmed. Fresh start. That sounds perfect for you, she said sincerely. Bold. Independent. The echo of my mother's earlier comment about my haircut wasn't lost on me. For all our differences, for all the pain between us, Cassie still knew me in ways no one else could. The blessing and curse of twinship. Goodbye, Cassie, I said, not unkindly. See you around, Ellie, she replied, a careful correction that acknowledged my boundary while holding space for future encounters. I walked away without looking back, feeling neither triumphant nor defeated, just clear-eyed about the long, complicated road ahead. The wooden crane from the Kyoto monk seemed to press against my hip from within my pocket, a reminder of flight and freedom. 6 months later, I stood in the NICU cradling a premature baby girl against my scrubs, her tiny body finally stable enough for kangaroo care. Her mother watched anxiously from a nearby chair, too exhausted after an emergency C-section to hold her child herself. She's doing beautifully, I reassured her. Getting stronger every hour. You make it look so natural, the woman said. Do you have children? Once, this question would have stung with the reminder of fertility treatments abandoned, family dreams destroyed. Now, it simply prompted a gentle smile. No, I answered honestly. But every baby here teaches me something about strength and resilience. Dr. Martinez appeared in the doorway, beckoning me. When you're finished, Eleanor, could I see you in my office? I carefully transferred the baby back to her incubator, checked her monitors, and promised her mother I'd return soon. Then I followed Dr. Martinez down the corridor, curious about the summons. In her office, she gestured for me to sit. I'll get straight to the point. I've recommended you for the Advanced Neonatal Nursing Certification Program. I blinked in surprise. That's a year-long commitment. With a significant pay increase upon completion, she reminded me. And you'd be on track for a charge nurse position afterward. I'm honored, I said sincerely. But why me? I've only been in the NICU for 6 months. Dr. Martinez leaned back in her chair, studying me. Because you have something essential for this work, Eleanor. You understand that healing is never linear, never simple. You've lived it. I considered her words, the truth in them resonating deeply. My own healing journey had indeed been anything but straightforward. Moments of progress followed by unexpected setbacks, days of clarity interrupted by nights of doubt. Yet the direction had remained constant. Forward. I'd like to accept, I decided. Thank you for the opportunity. She nodded, satisfied. Classes start next month. I'll submit the paperwork. As I walked back to the nurse's station, my phone vibrated with a text from Lisa. Dinner tonight? Matt's making his famous pasta. I smiled, typing back, wouldn't miss it. Can I bring dessert? Lisa had started dating Matt, a surgeon from her hospital 3 months ago. He was kind, funny, and completely smitten with her. Their happiness warmed me rather than highlighting my own singleness, another sign of healing I hadn't anticipated. My shift ended at 6. I changed in the locker room, exchanging scrubs for jeans and a soft sweater, and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. My hair had grown out slightly, now a stylish pixie rather than the dramatic chop of my post-divorce rebellion. The shadows under my eyes had faded. I looked settled, at ease in my skin. Outside, autumn painted the city in golds and crimsons, leaves crunching underfoot as I walked to my car. I detoured to a bakery for dessert, selecting a pear tart that would complement Matt's pasta. My phone rang as I waited in line, my father's number. Hey, Dad, I answered. Just confirming you're still coming for brunch on Sunday, he said. Your mother's making those blueberry pancakes you like. I'll be there, I promised. Tell her not to go overboard. Her doctor said to take it easy. Try telling Catherine Walsh to take it easy, he chuckled. She's already planning the Thanksgiving menu. It's only October, I protested, smiling despite myself. You know your mother, he said fondly. Oh, and Eleanor. Cassie mentioned she might stop by around noon. I wanted you to know in advance. The familiar tightness in my chest at Cassie's name had diminished to a dull pinch. That's fine, Dad. Thanks for the heads up. We'd established a careful protocol over the past months. Advance notice, limited interaction, no discussion of Ryan or the divorce during family gatherings. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Cassie respected my boundaries, and I acknowledged her presence without pretending everything was fine between us. Ryan had indeed moved to Baltimore for the Johns Hopkins position. According to hospital gossip, which inevitably reached me despite my best efforts to avoid it, he was dating a pharmaceutical representative and seemed happy enough. The knowledge passed through me with minimal disruption, a footnote rather than a chapter heading in my ongoing story. At Lisa and Matt's apartment that evening, surrounded by good food and easy laughter, I felt the full measure of how far I'd come. When Matt opened a bottle of champagne and proposed a toast to Lisa's recent promotion, I raised my glass without reservation, genuinely celebrating my friend's success. Later, as we washed dishes side by side, Lisa nudged my shoulder. So that new attending in pediatrics asked about you again. I rolled my eyes. Subtle, Lisa. Very subtle. Just saying, she grinned. Dr. James Rodriguez is single, brilliant, and has amazing shoulders. And he specifically mentioned liking your presentation at last month's staff meeting. I'm not ready, I said automatically, then paused, considering the truth of that statement. Was I still not ready, or was I simply comfortable in my independence? Okay, Lisa shrugged, accepting my answer without pressure. But when you are ready, if you ever are, there are good men out there. Men nothing like Ryan. I dried my hands on a dish towel, thinking of the wooden crane from Kyoto that now sat on my bedside table, wings outspread in perpetual flight. I know there are. And maybe someday I'll be interested in meeting them. For now, I'm good with where I am. Fair enough, she agreed, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. More ice cream? Later that night, in my quiet apartment with its slowly accumulating personal touches, Japanese prints on the walls, books filling new shelves, plants thriving on the balcony, I curled up in my reading chair and opened my journal. 6 months of entries chronicled my journey from raw pain to cautious healing, from isolation to reconnection. I turned to a fresh page and wrote the date, then paused, pen hovering over paper. What milestone should I record today? The professional advancement? The family brunch looming with its careful navigation of Cassie's presence? The first stirrings of curiosity about what it might be like to date again someday? Instead, I wrote a simple truth. Today I realized I am no longer waiting to become whole. I already am. I closed the journal and set it aside, content in the knowledge that tomorrow would bring its own challenges and triumphs. The night my husband and sister stumbled into the ER with their hands literally stuck together had shattered my life into unrecognizable pieces. For months afterward, I'd struggled to reassemble those pieces into something resembling a complete picture. What I'd eventually discovered was that some pieces were better left behind, and new ones could be created to take their place. The resulting mosaic wasn't what I'd originally planned or expected, but it was authentic, resilient, and undeniably mine. Outside my window, a crescent moon hung in the clear October sky, illuminating possibilities I'd never imagined during those dark early days of betrayal and loss. Whatever came next, career advancement, family reconciliation, perhaps even new love someday, I would face it on my terms, with hard-won wisdom and unexpected grace. Sometimes the strongest glue in the world can't hold together what was never meant to last. And sometimes what comes apart must stay apart to make room for something stronger, truer, and infinitely more beautiful.